And we're live. Hi, everybody. Good afternoon on this Sunday. I'm here with Paul,
Hey, everybody.
and we have one person watching already.
Hey,
Good.
cool. We made it to the big time.
Sorry, we are 6 minutes late. Well, 7 minutes late. It's all my fault. I could not connect my microphone. I would have come a lot better with the sound. So hopefully this is good enough for you guys, and you can hear us okay. And we're gonna go with start with introductions here in a minute. For those of you who watched the replay, we are going to recap our Atlantic City Marathon,
Cool.
and we have a series of bullet points that we have put together so that it's more like a structured chat with you guys. But if you have any questions, put them in the chat, and we will answer as well. So, I'm
Mhm.
Susie. I'm the host of I Run Things. I ran the Atlantic City Marathon. I did not finish. If you haven't watched the video, you can go watch it after this live stream, and we'll go into more detail about that during this conversation. Why don't you introduce yourself, Paul?
Sure. My name's Paul. I am known on YouTube as Devrunner, and I am known on Instagram as the Devrunner. And those are really the only places I'm even mildly active anymore. But basically, I'm a running coach, a certified running coach, and yeah, I think my story is more about just kind of a return to a return to running in a serious way over the last year. Um, I'm not going to drag the mood down, but yeah, I've had several life challenges that I had to overcome, and the Atlantic City Marathon for me was sort of an attempt at returning to form. So it was fun. I didn't take it too seriously, but I wanted to at least be within striking distance of what my performances used to be like in a marathon. So
You actually did really well. We can talk about that um, during this chat. But so I guess let's start straight away with the questions. And the first one is, what inspired you to sign up for this particular race? You can go ahead. You go first, and I'll answer after you.
okay, sure. Yeah, for me, like I just kind of said, it was to put a goal on the calendar again. It had been so long since late last year, 2023, where I'd gone from just dropping running completely for a little while to just kind of running for the sake of just keeping some kind of structure and keeping something in my life that gave me an escape mentally, allowed me to just kind of think about putting one foot in front of the other. And Atlantic City seemed like it was far enough away at one point that I could ease into serious training again. And I don't know if I've answered the question or if I strayed completely away from the question.
No, no, you answered the question. I think, yeah, yeah. So I signed for Atlantic City because I tend to run these races, either the half or the full. Hi, girl. Good afternoon. Thank you for joining.
How you doing, Carol?
So I did the marathon well, actually, I've been running the races because they host several races during the year. So I've run the April Fools, which is the half marathon they do in April. I've run that 3 times, I think, already, three
Cool.
years in a row. My PR is from the April Fools half marathon, my best time ever in a half. And then I've run the marathon. Well, really, I've run the marathon once. I've run the half during the marathon weekend once, and then this time would have been the second Atlantic City Marathon, but it wasn't because I didn't. So,
Gotcha.
so
Gotcha.
I just like where they are in the calendar. It's like it's such a nice weekend. October tends to be. I
Mhm.
mean, it wasn't this year, but it tends to be milder in terms of temperature. It's pretty much all flat. We can talk about the course in a little bit. I have another question about that.
Cool.
Um, but yeah, I think it's a nice course. It's
I
a
agree.
local race, which is also, I think it's good to support local races. If we only sign up for the big races, then the local races don't have any business, and I think it's good for them to have, you know, our support. So
Oh, absolutely. And I tend to think that the smaller races, if it's a good course, if it's a fast course, um, I think most people stand a better chance at PRing at a smaller course where there's just less people in your way. You know what I mean? Um,
Yeah, that's probably true as well because there's more space, more room.
yeah.
So, okay, and now we're gonna start talking a little bit about training. So how did it go for you, and did you have any challenges during your training?
For me, physically, my training cycle, it wasn't one of my biggest. Anybody who's even knows me a little bit knows that I like to run a lot of miles, and when I'm training for a marathon, so like for me, like a real big training cycle is like we'll peak out around 110 miles a week, and this time I never got over. I think 82 or 83 miles was my biggest week this time.
It's
So
substantial though.
yeah, and it felt that way when with work challenges and just kind of trying to balance life and work and all that. But I I was happily surprised that physically it was not challenging. Like I made it through the whole thing without ever feeling like I'd pushed myself too far. Mentally, emotionally, I think that's where the bigger challenge was for me. I came up against, and this has nothing to do with running. This is just because of life. Emotionally, I was just there were several times where I just kind of like stopped in the middle of the cycle, and I was like, why am I even doing this? You know what I mean? Like my heart wasn't necessarily there. Um, but I knew it was important to push through. I knew it was important not to allow myself to just stop and wallow in my own self pity, basically. So
Did it impact any of your runs though, or did you do all your runs?
no, I got everything done. Yeah, I was pretty much 7 days a week for an entire like 18 weeks, 17 or 18 weeks, I think it lasted. So
Oh wow.
yeah, I was there. I took one day off of running 2 days before the marathon, the travel day to drive all the way up to New Jersey. That's about it. How about you? How did you find that
I
the cycle went?
I am trying to put the questions on the um, chat, and it's not allowing me to do it, and I don't know why. Sorry, guys, I'm having technical difficulties, and this is really weird because usually it just lets me do it. But it's
No
not
big
letting me
deal.
do it now.
I
Okay,
can.
well, so for me, the training block was bumpy. It was bumpy because during the training block, it was 16 weeks, and I went twice to Spain. So
That'll do something.
yeah, so it was bumpy because the first time I went, it was at the beginning of the training block, so it was okay. I didn't miss any runs. But the second time, it was in the peak of the training. It was one of the weeks with the most miles,
Yeah.
and I missed. I think I should have run 40 per my plan, 40 miles, and I did 32 or something like that. So, I mean, overall, I did all the runs. I hit the paces mostly, but I was dragging, and I think I was dragging because we went to Spain and I was stressed with, we
Oh
had
yeah.
a big purchase there. So
Yeah.
that's a
Exactly.
story
That
for
all
another
adds up.
video.
You know? That all adds up. Stresses from other parts of life affect your running and vice versa. Hey
Yeah.
Joe,
So
how's it going?
towards the end, I was very, very stressed. I was not sleeping well because, you know, we were buying an apartment. I mean, but the problem is with the time difference. I had to wake up a few nights in a row, like at 3 in the morning here to talk to my bank at 9 a.m. in the morning and talk to this specific person that was taking care of our paperwork and everything. So that was a mess.
Yeah.
And I think that sidetracked me quite a bit. And when I was toying with the idea of downgrading to the half marathon and just running the half marathon because I thought I was in shape for a half marathon, having run 30 miles and, I did a lot of speed work. So I was like, okay, well, I'm in good shape for a half marathon. But ultimately, I wouldn't have even been in good shape for a half marathon, as people will talk about later.
Okay.
Um, but yeah, I toyed with the idea, and then I was like, well, I'm gonna need a longer run for Trans Gran Canaria, which is my main goal for next year, which is in February, and it's 52 miles. So I figured, okay, I
Fun.
can just run the marathon. If I can't do it faster, I'll do it slower and I'll treat it as a training run. And it's just, you don't have to carry water and so many gels on you because they're going to provide them with the course. So I figured that was, a goal, a big goal that I could accomplish. So, but going into it, I was that week I got sick too. So everything that could happen this training block actually happened.
Yep.
So I got sick. I had a pretty, sizable cold. I was
Hmm.
very congested for like, well, definitely Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. I was very, very congested. And then Friday started feeling well. Saturday was perfectly fine. And then Sunday I ran the marathon. But Monday, when I woke up, it's like a train ran over me. Like I felt sick again. Like I was sneezing, coughing. It was like, okay, I
Yeah,
really
because
wasn't.
you drained your body on Sunday. Yeah.
Yeah, but I think it wasn't recovered. I thought I was because you know how colds are, like there's a peak and then starts going down. So in my mind, I was feeling so positive about running it
Yeah.
that I was not really paying attention to the signs my body was giving me. I think it was that because again, Monday morning when I woke up, I was so like my ears were hurting, my chest was congested again. So I was like, okay, I went into this marathon, but I really wasn't recovered.
Yeah.
So
And
don't do
something
what I
that,
did, guys.
but keep in mind too, everybody who's listening to, what Susie's saying is, we haven't mentioned it yet. I'm sure it's going to come up any second now, but um, race day conditions were far from ideal. So it, what you were
It was
going through with
hot,
your sickness plus the heat is like, yeah, it was not a recipe for a great day.
but in other circumstances, if I hadn't had the cold, because when you have a cold, your thermal regulation is just not there. Like you feel hot at times, cold at times, and it's like your body's just not responding to those cues the same
Hmm.
way that it would in normal circumstances. I think that affected because I was hot from the get go. I don't know if it happened to you, but I was in
Hey,
the corral and it was like, man, it's hot in here.
yeah,
It was just like, which was not because I think it was 56 or 57. So I shouldn't have felt that hot, but I was like, oh my God. It's like, I remember I arrived that morning and I went to April and Linda were staying at the hotel. So I went to their room and in the room and I was like, oh my God, I'm so hot. Like I was hot already. So I
yeah.
think again, my body was
But
just not
well,
waking up.
exactly. I think absolutely, but it was a hot day. I remember when I got out of the hotel, it was like 7:30 in the morning, and before I walked out the glass door to the outdoors, I was thinking because I was wearing like nothing. I just remember psyching myself up like I was about to take like a cold plunge into an ice bath or something. Just thinking, okay, it's gonna be really, really cold out. I'm really gonna not be happy, but gun goes off in a half hour. I can deal with this. And I walked out the door and I was like, oh my God, it's hot.
Right. I
I
remember
knew
you
it was
saying
going to
that.
be a bad day as soon as I felt that.
Yeah. And there was a portion when you, like at the beginning early on, there was a section where there was not a single, like no breeze, no nothing. And it was like, oh my
Hmm.
God, it's hot.
Yeah.
Like I felt like it was, yeah, I wasn't prepared for that at all.
Yeah. They said it was supposed to be like, like high 50s at the start, climbing up to 71, but I figured that was going to happen well after we were done running. But man,
Especially you.
there was no avoiding it. By the time I hit the boardwalk at like mile 8 or whatever, it was already just blasting heat. It was just, whew.
And also, I think it hits you different on the boardwalk because the sun reflects a lot, I think, on the
Yep.
boardwalk. You see, every other year I've run, there's been a breeze. So when
Mhm.
there's a breeze coming from the ocean, even if it's hotter, even if it's like 62, 65, you don't feel that because the breeze is constantly cooling you down. But I mean, there was no breeze really. I mean, it was like pretty.
Yeah, I mean, the coolest section of that race for me was, after you've actually run the length of the boardwalk the first time and you get to the far end and then you get back into the city streets,
Oh,
there's a point where there's like a bunch of like townhouses right after you turn off the boardwalk for a couple of miles. And the sun was at exactly the right place where all those townhouses were like casting their shadow. And we got to run in the shadow of those. And that was like the best 2 miles of the entire race because it was actually cool.
yeah. It's there. It's always that section is always the best section though in any race in Atlantic City, in my opinion, because if it's windy and it's coming from the ocean, you're
Hmm.
protected there as well. So if
Yeah.
it's a windy day, which has been, when I got my PR, it was super windy. And I remember thinking, what the heck is going on? Like you felt, like the
You're fighting
wind
it.
pushed you. Yeah, you're fighting it. And it was nice because you're protected. Like you said, that's a
Hmm.
section that's always nice.
You know what's funny though is like I got the cool weather at that point, and it was the first time in the race when I was like looking at my watch and I was like, okay, this feels like my stride. Things feel good. Why am I slowing down? Because at that point I still had designs on trying to run a good time, and it was only after you go all the way out. I'm trying not to talk in terms of
No,
where you
go
have to
ahead.
be,
It's fine.
but at any rate, there's a point where there's kind of like a turnaround point, and you start tracking back from where you came. And it was only after I'd done that turnaround where I realized, oh, that's why I was slowing down. I'm running on a slight downhill now. That 2.5 miles to get to the turnaround was slightly uphill. And it's very slight, maybe half a degree, 1 degree, but it's enough to like take 10 seconds off your pace. And so I was like relieved. Okay, it's not me. I'm not dead yet. It's just the course.
Oh wow, I have never, again, I've run this course. I've never noticed it downhill. So you're pretty attuned to your body because
Yeah,
I've
it's
never
only
noticed
because
that.
I got my eye on the watch the whole time. And it was like, I know I'm working just as hard as I ever have been. Why am I slowing down?
Yeah. And that section is also, I think it's hard because there's not much. After you leave the townhouses, when you get to the turnaround point, there's a whole section there that there's really nothing. I mean, there's
Oh yeah,
literally nothing. There's
and there's just enough
water on one
turns.
side, there's nothing.
Exactly, and there are enough turns just because I guess they're just trying to fill up the mileage for the 26.2 that you start to get. Maybe after you've run the course a few times, it changes. But I was utterly disoriented. I was just like always, do I go this way? Like always asking questions of the people on the side of the road, just because it was
Yeah,
like
it's
whew, a lot of turns.
yes, that there's, and I'm sure it's because of that, because of the 26.2, they have still, obviously you need the 26.2, so there's a lot of turns there. And I feel like the turns also drag you because that's where you really have all the, left, right, now you go again.
Yeah.
So that's right after that is when in 2022 I had to hit the porta potties a couple of times, and that's when shit hit the fan for me in the marathon. In that one, yeah, yeah. So it was after all the turns. The turns were draining me so much because at that point I was still running with my friend Ginger, and she knows Atlantic City much better than I know Atlantic City. And I kept saying, "We're turning again." She was, "Yeah, now we're going towards this. Now we're gonna pass this." She knew where everything was, but for me it was like another turn.
Yeah, it's funny.
Yeah.
And tell me, this is probably too much information, oversharing, but um, during this marathon, I actually had to stop for a pee break. But the cool thing about it is there was no porta potty involved. I got to pee into the ocean in the middle of a race. I actually jumped over the blockade. It was just
That's
like
too
I,
funny.
I saw water, so I just jumped over and did what I had to do and jumped back onto the course.
I stopped. The good thing about the Atlantic City Marathon is they have enough porta potties. Like they have them distributed in the right spots.
Yeah.
So I actually use a porta potty as well, and I just walked in and out. I mean, I didn't have to stop or anything. And when I ran the Atlantic City Marathon, I stopped. I stopped 3 times. I stopped twice in porta potties and once in a bar. Like I just
Oh
walked in
wow, that's pretty cool.
because I needed to go, and it was like, I mean, obviously they see you walking with your babe and everything. So the guy
Yeah.
said,
Oh
"Here,
yeah.
there."
Oh, you finished quick. No, I'm still in the middle of
Oh,
it.
it was super quick. I just went in and out again. Yeah, but it's a good thing about this marathon that the other races I've run is like, when is the next porta potty? Like even Philadelphia Marathon, I ran it with my brother, and I remember there was this whole section that I was telling my brother, I need to use the bathroom, and I could not even. There were not even porta potties, so it's not like I didn't want to wait in line. It's that we couldn't see any. So I told my brother, okay, next bush I see, I need to go. I actually went behind bushes. So Yeah, he kept running, and then I caught up to him. But yeah,
Mhm.
so that's a really good thing about the Atlantic City Marathon. So let's talk about goals for the race. We
Sure.
touched on this a little bit, but what was your goal?
Yeah, for me, like I said, they were very loose goals this time because I was just trying to get back into shape. So, I mean, I kind of, when we were months and months away from this race, I was telling myself I want to get within 2 or 3 minutes of my marathon PR. And I realized that that just wasn't going to happen. So I kind of reset my goal to, um, I just want to run under 3 hours. Um, and once I knew that it was going to be a hot day, really I started with no goal. I was just like, I'm just going to run and see what happens. And I think that took so much pressure off me that I could actually enjoy it. I think this is the first marathon that I actually like really enjoyed
Oh,
because it was
good.
like if I need to slow down, then I don't care if I slow down, you know. So, I mean, there was a lot of wavering. Like there were times when I felt bad, and so I slowed way down, and then picked it up again. And so it was kind of like it was kind of neat.
Oh,
But
that's awesome. And I have something to tell you because you don't know this. I was saving it for this conversation, but I saw
okay.
you passing me when I was walking back to the start line. I saw you, and you actually talked to someone, one of the volunteers.
Oh wow, cool. Hopefully, I
Yeah,
was
and
next
I
to
caught up
him.
to like I listened like I had my camera. I thought my camera. I mean, I was so dizzy. I saw you and I turned on the camera, but then I wasn't evidently I wasn't filming because I didn't film anything.
Okay, I gotcha.
But it would have been neat because you were like right next to me. Like you were maybe I don't know 3 yards from me.
Wow, that
Yeah.
shows you how out of it I was because I was like, there were several points out there during the race when I was like keeping an eye out for you, keeping an eye out for April and for Lynn, and it's like I never saw anybody. I saw IAPA, and the only reason I saw IAPA during the race is because he was screaming my name. Otherwise, I would have just kept going.
Yeah, I didn't want to distract you because you passed me and you were so this was maybe you know that sort of walkway they have. You go under that walkway on the
On the
boardwalk.
boardwalk itself?
Yes, there's like a
Yeah,
walkway,
right,
and once
very.
you pass that, the finish line is right there. So
Yeah.
it was right. That was right in sight. So it
Oh
was
wow.
like, yeah, almost there. And you were going for it, like you were going fast, and but you were like fighting for it. So you were like breathing
Uh-huh.
super hard. You were
Yeah, yeah.
like
At
very
that point, the
controlled,
heat
but
had
breathing
done me.
hard.
Yeah.
And one of the volunteers said, "Come on, you got it, you got it, you got it." And he was like, "I'm struggling," or something. You said something like that, like,
Yeah.
"Oh, it's hard," or something. It was something along those lines. And then you get going. And again, I thought I was, but I didn't want to say anything because you were going so fast. Like at that
Oh,
point,
you
it
know
was
what
like,
I
"Come on,
think I
keep going
said?
for it."
I think I was something along the lines of "Where's the damn finish line?"
Oh, that was it. Yes.
because because you can't see it until you get right there because there's a slight bend in the boardwalk. So
Yes,
it's like,
yes. So you see, that's your, I should have told you. Once you see that walking thing on top,
yeah.
that's, the finish line is right after that. Because in the finish line pictures, that's what they get behind you. They get that,
Oh, gotcha,
it's
gotcha,
that
gotcha.
building that walks. There's a walkway that goes to the other side.
Yeah,
So
yeah. I
it
remember that
was
because I
right,
remember feeling the shade.
yeah, right before then. And I saw you going, and I was like, okay, he's. It's funny because when I crossed for a second, I was keeping time of the like the, and Joe is actually asking. I hope he's still on. What was your time, Paul?
Oh,
So
it was. I can't tell you the exact time, but it was 3:07 something. I didn't because it doesn't matter to me. Like when I knew I was nowhere near my goal, like real goals, I was just kind of like, I think it said 3:07, and literally, it was a weird. It was weird because sorry, that's my dog making a lot of noise. Um, I crossed the finish line. I finally saw the people who were like putting medals around people's necks, and so they did that. I said thank you. Finally managed to get a bottle of water open, and literally stretched my legs for a second, hopped over the back of the corral by the finish line, and just walked to the hotel. Like I didn't
so
stick
I was
around or
right
anything.
behind you because I was looking at where the I wanted to get to the medical tent So
Yeah,
that was
yeah.
all I
I
had in
know
my
you were
mind.
having a
Like,
really rough time. Yeah.
I need to get to the medical tent. And if you don't cross the finish, you have to like loop around and go back in again. And I was like, I'm not walking all that. So I actually went
Yeah,
through
yeah.
the finish. Like I went through the finish.
Okay.
And as I walked through the finish, there's a woman there and she says, I mean, it was obvious that I was not racing the race because I
Yeah,
just,
yeah.
and she says, congratulations, you're a woman. And I'm like, I'm not. I didn't run. I turn around. I'm DNFing. And she's like, she looks at me and she's like, well, so do you want me to put you as DNF? And I'm like, yeah,
Yeah.
I'm DNFing. I didn't the whole thing. So
It's
I
a rough.
wonder, I wonder if they were, can you imagine if I say, because I came right after you, but the whole thing was like, I didn't want to go all the way. And then, because you have to walk back into the finishes chute if you want to go to the medical tent. It's not
Okay.
like
It was
after,
off to the left
like
there,
in
I
a
guess.
free
Yeah.
zone, like in other races. No, you have to walk back in and go against the people who are finishing because the medical tent is right after the finish line. They have the race announcer, and then right next is the medical tent.
Okay. I know
So when
exactly what
I
you're
was
talking
going in, I was like, I'm not going all around. I just, sorry, I need to get
about.
there.
Yeah, make
And when
way.
I
I'm
get,
coming.
oh, but it was like, he was like, congratulations. And I was like, I didn't even, like, I saw April when I turned around, and April said, oh my God, you look so pale.
Oh boy.
And clearly, it was obvious I wasn't doing well. So,
Yeah. I'm just glad you survived the day. And I'm glad that you're
oh,
back so quickly. That's the big thing.
well, I don't know that I bounced. I ran twice this week, and the run
Yeah,
hasn't
me
gone.
too. Yes,
So,
Friday and then a couple hours ago.
so for me, I was doing okay. So I'm going to do 3:30 running, 1 minute walking because I can recover and 20
Mhm.
minute walking. And I was going 11:30, like mile one, mile two, mile three, mile four, 11:30, like on the dot, like on my watch. I was like, oh my God, I'm doing amazing.
Yeah,
I've
yeah.
never run so perfect in my life. Like, oh
Especially
my God.
considering the elevation changes in
Yes,
the
I was
beginning of the
like
race.
every single time it would come and it would say 11:30, 11:30, 11. It was like, oh my God, this is so awesome. And then on mile four, all of a sudden started feeling like it's like in those scary movies when the ghost goes through your body. So that's exactly what I felt. It's like,
Gotcha, gotcha, gotcha.
like, what the heck is happening to me? Like it was so like so after mile four, I said, okay, I'm gonna pull back a little bit. I'm gonna go a little bit slower, and then we'll see how I feel in a couple miles. If I feel okay again, then I'll go back to 11:30. So I did 11:45 for mile five and 11:45 for mile six. And then after that, I just couldn't. I was like, I don't know what's
Yeah,
going on with my body, but I just couldn't. And then I slowed down even more, and I was doing 12. So I did
yeah.
7, 8, 9, 10, and 11 at 12. And I was like, and then even after that, I was like, there's no way. Like
Hmm.
when you pass the start and finish area, you pass it again. I passed it and I went there and I was like, it's all in my head. I keep thinking, it's all in my head. It's all in my head. I'm not tired. I'm gonna keep going.
Yeah.
And then I passed where the half marathoners turn around, which is mile 10. And I kept going. And I saw a porta potty to the right. There was no one there. So I was like, okay, here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna go in the porta potty,
Hmm.
pick up, like use it and then pick up you know, regulate my breath again. And then I'll
Yeah.
see how I'm feeling. Because I was like, okay, if I stop and I just, God, it might be long out of, I'm gonna feel fine. But I am in the porta potty, and when I'm there, the first thing that came to mind was like, who's shaking this porta potty? Like I thought, but it
Oh
was not.
boy.
It was me. I was like so dizzy, and then
Wow.
you're in darkness, and then I
Scary.
opened, and when I opened the door, I could not see anything. Like it was like everything. I got so freaking scared because I was like, I'm just gonna faint right here.
Oh,
I thought I was fainting. So then at that point, I sat on a bench. So I'm like, okay, I'm gonna sit. So I sit on a bench and I'm like, okay, it's gonna come back to me. It's gonna come back to me. It's gonna come back to me. I'm gonna continue. It's just a training run. Like I kept like
yep,
trying
yep,
to psych myself up, and I was like, like I'm just gonna if I have to walk for a little bit and then I'll start running again. And after being sitting on the bench, I started like walking and trying to like power walk a little bit, and then I just turned it out because I figured if I'm feeling like this at mile 11:75, it was, I think, I was like, there's no way I'm
That's
gonna be
just
able to
too
do
far to go if you're
26:42,
feeling that bad.
and I'm gonna walk. I'm gonna have to walk myself from a much further distance to the start line because I know the course, so it's like you get much further before you get much closer again.
Oh yeah.
So I was like, there's no way. So then I turned around and I was coming back, and as I was walking back, I see Bruce, and Bruce is like, hey, he calls me and he's like, hey, my sister. He always calls me my sister. Hey, my sister, you're coming back already? That's fast. And again, I was walking. So and
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
like, no, I'm DNFing. I'm walking to the start line. I just can't keep going. And he's like, you can't? And so he stops and he's like, give me a hug. And he gives me a hug. And he's like, come on, I'm doing 12:30. Come with me. Like, I'm going super slow, like, and I'm like, he's like, come on, just try it, try it. Just like, okay. So again, I keep going, like I turn around, I keep going. At that point, I had already walked half a mile back, but he psyched me up. So it was like, okay, well, maybe I can do it with him. Like we keep each
Uh-huh.
other company. So I turn around and I'm going with him. And I started seeing like lights in my eyes. I'm like, I just
Oh
can't.
yeah, your
So I turned
system.
around and I came back. Yeah. So I walk my way back again. And then I text Lynn and April because they were doing the half. So I'm like, where are you guys? And April's like, I'm about to hit the turnaround. So I'm like, I'm walking. I'm very dizzy. I'm going to DNF. And she was like, okay, when I see you, I'll start walking and walk back with you. So what happens, I hit the turnaround point before she
Mhm.
did. So I saw her and she was like, let me turn around and then I'll catch up with you. But then she couldn't catch up with me because one thing I do is I walk pretty fast. And I
Yeah.
was so motivated to get to the medical tent. I was like, I need to get there. I need to, like, all I could think of was like, okay, let me get there. Let me get there. Just one step, like one foot and then the other one, and then one
Yep.
foot, one foot, one foot. So I kept going. And and then she texted me saying, I'm walking, so I'm not going to catch up to you. Because she has an injury in her knee, so it acted up and she couldn't really, like,
Oh
sprint and
wow.
run.
Yeah,
So,
it was
but
a
I
rough
think she
day
came
for
right
everybody.
after me.
Sounds like to me.
It was just, but then the Lynn did phenomenally well. And she took, she ran super fast. And
Cool.
she was like, whatever. So it was good for her. So then again, I crossed the finish line. I went to the medical tent and I told them, can you check my blood pressure and my sugar? And they said, we can't check your sugar, but we can check your blood pressure.
Yeah.
So I checked my blood pressure and it was 110 over 60, I think. So he said, do you run high or low? And I'm like, I always run low. And he said, well, if you run low, this is perfect. So
Okay.
it
Yeah, I
couldn't
was
be
gonna say
better.
that sounds pretty
So I was like,
good.
okay. And then they gave me a massive, they mixed, they were super nice. They mixed water with Gatorade and they gave me like a big bottle.
Oh, cool.
So they just drink this, go get yourself a bagel, you'll be fine. So, I mean, they took like, my heart was fine.
Good. Good. Yeah, it sounded like
So
you
yeah.
just needed to rest, not run a marathon.
See, the thing is, I was thinking I could have downgraded for the half, but I would have fought for the half too.
Yeah.
Like, there's no way because I would have gone faster for a half. I wouldn't have started at 11:30. I would have wanted to do like at least a 10. I would have hit the wall anyway. So
Well, that's the
yeah, it
thing.
was just
Yeah. I mean, your body has to work that much harder to regulate when you're working that much harder. So, you know.
so yeah. I mean, the whole week I've been dragging. Like the funny thing is Friday I went to work and I have a coworker. We don't work in the same team. We work in the same building, and he usually, we either have lunch together or grab a cup of coffee or something. So he came back. I was really busy, so he messaged me and he was like, "Hey, do you want to grab lunch?" I'm like, "I can't." I'm like, "I have a lot of stuff." And he said, "Well, I'll stop by and say hello." So he stops by and he looks at me. He's like, "What's going on? You don't look good." I'm like, "I have a cold." I'm not feeling well. And this was Friday. He was like, "You look awful." See, I was in the office and I was like, man, how I feel so shitty. And that was Friday. Yeah.
Yeah, that's
So
just too
I
soon. That's too soon. I
yeah.
saw all I can tell you is hats off to you for even trying. Even if it was perfect conditions, that wouldn't have been your day. It's just your body didn't have a chance to recover.
Yeah. But now that we're talking about, times and all that, you actually managed to get first in your age group.
Yeah, that was weird because, like I said, I left like I literally left, like crossed the finish line and kept moving.
They
And
probably said it on the speaker. I mean, they're usually good with that, They probably said something.
yeah, I was actually back at the hotel room. I had just gotten out of the shower, and I was texting with a friend, and suddenly IAPA comes through the door of the hotel because we shared a room, and he's like, "Dude, you won the thing." And I was like, "Okay."
I saw it because I was checking, your time. I'm like, he won his age group. And then I talked to him, I was like, did you know that you won your age
Yeah, found out about an hour and a half later.
group? And you texted back saying, I hope I didn't left any money on the table.
Yeah, that would be the worst. If I just if they were just going to give me a little another medallion or something, whatever. But,
I mean, they were very fast people, but because I turned around, I don't think there were that many people ahead of you in the general population.
yeah, I
It
think
was
overall
hard.
I was like 32 or 33 overall. Which is it is what it is. But I don't, unless I know I'm running for place in a race. I don't really worry about the overall ranking because yeah, nobody ever has control over that unless you're like super elite. You're going to be like top 5 or something. Um,
Right.
for me, it's always about trying to hit the time that I'm after for myself. And I knew, like because of the heat, like we said earlier, I knew because the day was what it was going to be hot. So I knew that I was kind of getting nowhere near what I wanted to do. So
Yeah. I have an anecdote about that. I ran very early on in my running career. I signed up last minute for like a 15K. I wasn't trained. Oh no, I was training for the Marine Corps Marathon.
oh, cool.
So I was like, okay, I'll just treat it like an extra. I think I had like a 10 miler. So I was like, oh, just run a race, 15K, it's close enough. So I didn't know anything about the course or anything. I just signed up. And when I get there, it was not a big course, like a big race, but it was really hilly and it was two loops of the same thing. I wasn't prepared for the hills, but I'm going, and there was this girl like ahead of me, and I kept thinking, maybe I should try to push past her last minute, like like because I was getting closer and closer to her every
Yeah,
time,
yeah.
like every mile. It was like I could pass her, so I tried to pass her, like kind of towards the end, but I didn't. Like I could not manage to pass her. And then when I looked at the, how we did, I was fourth in my age group, and she was the. So it was like, "Dang it, I would have
Rock and
been third."
roll. Rock and roll.
I was beating myself up because I was like, if I only had pushed a little bit harder, I couldn't have done it because I was already pushing, because
Yeah.
I
Oh,
kept
yeah.
looking at her, like if I could only pass her, like, but I
It's
was
nice to
still
have a goal like
pushing
that when you're
her.
chasing somebody like that.
Oh, and she was slowing down. Like I could tell I was keeping my pace, and she was slowing down. And I was
Yeah.
like, dang it! That was my. And then I thought there will be more opportunities to have be third in my age group. I've never made any. I've never made like I've been running 7 years.
Yeah.
Never made it to my age group. Never. But
You'll
I've
get it.
done a
Yeah.
couple of like fast, like I did I'm trying to think. I did a 5K here locally in my neighborhood and I did 25 11. I think I did. So for me it was pretty fast. And I
Yeah.
think I was fourth too. It's like, come on. No one can give me a third place. That would be so nice to have third in my age group, so I can at least. It was
Yeah.
like, come on.
You'll get there. I mean, you train. You're so good from cycle to cycle to cycle. Like I'm still convinced that you are nowhere near you're not at the you haven't reached your potential as a runner yet. You still got, I think,
The,
several
the,
more years of
the,
getting faster.
the problem with me is that since I started running and now, to be perfectly honest, when I started running, I was in perimenopause and now I'm postmenopausal. I went through so many changes, hormonal changes in my body. What
Mhm.
worked for me 7 years ago is not what's working for me. So
Makes sense.
I think for because I speak with other people, and because of the YouTube channel, people message me about this all the time, and other
Mhm.
women who are going through it or have gone through it, and they all say the same thing. It's like, like there's such a change in like 3 years. Your body changes completely, like the way you feel.
Mhm.
That for men is a lot more. Obviously, hormones decline, but for you guys, it's like you're here, and then you go. Well, I'm. But you're
Yeah,
here, and then you
what I'm
decline little
experiencing
by
is the
little.
slow decline at this point.
It's, I mean, but it's gradual. But for us, it's like
I
it's
got
like you never know. And then when you finally hit the bottom, you hit the bottom, and it's like
you.
you really hit rock bottom, and then you're fine. But then again, it's like you've been experimenting with all these things, and it's like you don't know what's working because
Yeah,
your
too many
body
factors at
changes
play.
so much.
Yeah.
It's like for you, for example, if your testosterone was 200 one day, and then the next day it was 80, and
Yeah.
then a week later 500, and then it's like your body's not absorbing the food you're eating, the nutrients, the carbohydrates, the water. It affects everything, your sodium, your you know chlorine in your blood, everything. It's so it's that's the problem. You have to figure it out, and I haven't figured it out because it's
Yeah.
like,
But like you
yeah,
said, though, hopefully things are starting to regulate in your system now that you're kind of through that period, and you can start sort of you can have a more even keel against which to test fueling and all the usual stuff.
so here's the thing. Goo was for me, it would hit the sweet spot. Like I remember using other gels. And the goo was like, okay, I'm so glad that goo works because it's the cheapest one. And it was the best. Like I tried others, and goo would hit the spot. I would take it and feel the rush and like feel fine and
Yeah.
sustain energy till the next goo. But now it's like hit or miss. Sometimes I take a goo or any other gel, and
Mhm.
like let's say 10 minutes later, I crash.
Oh yeah, no, that's the
The
normal
sugar.
that's the normal reaction to those things. And keep in mind too, I'm not downing goo per se because I that's what I use. That's my go-to brand of gel. But for me, what has worked for me for the past like 5 years consistently is I'll do like when I'm racing a marathon, it's a goo every 4 miles. And but to avoid those spikes, those like that rush of I'm invincible, oh I feel like crap, is that's where the tailwind comes in. That's why I do the tailwind, because the tailwind being starch based takes a little while to break down in your stomach and turn into sugar. So that's more the
It's
way
more
I
sustained because it starts.
exactly, yeah, the way I picture it is that I use the tailwind to sort of raise the floor of my energy level to a consistent level that I know I'm not going to crash anymore. And then the this way the gels kind of like raise my energy level, but I don't have these super gigantic crashes anymore. It'll lower down to where the tailwind is taking care of things again, and then it's just a more even energy source that way. So something you might want to play with.
I don't know because when we were training for wine glass, I was using the tailwind, and I can't say that it made any difference for me. I mean, again, this was like a year ago, so maybe now things are different. But I, I was struggling with the long runs for wine glass. I hated
Yeah,
my life during the long runs, and they were so freaking hard.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. But I mean, you just had, I think, just too much stress from all directions at that point too. So
yeah. So that's the thing. You have to. All the stars have to align to really, yeah. And I again, maybe in 2 or 3 years from now, but also not to talk too much about myself, but I hit menopause so early in my life because I
yeah,
was 45. For intensive purposes, I'm a 57-year-old woman because most women hit it at 52, so they hit it 7 years after I did. So
yeah,
my,
no,
like it's, and I know that maybe because I tell these to people and they're like, well, you don't look, maybe don't, but it's not the way you look outside, it's the way your things, your body is inside.
yeah,
So
but
it
as a
doesn't
runner,
matter. That doesn't matter. What matters is your hormones have been at a place, and then they're not there anymore. So I think all of
absolutely,
that.
Absolutely. And
matters.
I don't pretend to be, never mind an expert, I don't pretend to have knowledge in those areas at all. I'm just an ignorant man. But the one thing I would tell you is that the fact that you have been in consistently great shape for as many years as you have been, that also, as far as your biological um, age goes, you're years and years younger than whatever you know, whatever
Well,
the count is.
that I agree with that. That is probably true. So I wasn't
Yeah.
training. I didn't. April, we were chatting actually. We were texting right before the live stream.
Oh, cool.
Um, so I didn't train. So Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, I didn't do anything. I walked my dog, but like, like a light, very light walk. So I didn't move much because I wanted my body to recover.
Hmm.
And then Thursday, I did strength training, and I didn't even grab like heavy weights. Like I was like, okay, I usually do these things with 15. Let me do them with 10, which is a 50% reduction in the weight. Let me do them with 10. My knees were like, oh my, I felt like an old woman. And I'm like, now I know why they say that moving your body is good. And if you don't move it, everything atrophies. It's
Yeah.
because it is true. Like I didn't move for 3 days and I felt like everything was like legit. I was doing curls and I was like, man, like, and I felt
I
old.
know the
So
feeling,
that's
unfortunately. Yeah.
whoever's watching this, guys, grab your weights because it's important.
Yeah. That's going to be the big difference in the way I approach the training cycle for the next races. I was so bad about, I mean, me, Susie, you've known me for years, and I've always been so big about cross training with weights. And during this cycle, that was almost non-existent. Like I just never motivated myself to really get on a regular schedule.
And let me tell you, when I did, this is a fun fact. When I did New York City Marathon, I didn't run a lot of miles because I think I topped at like 45, I want to say. So I didn't run a ton of miles. It's still my fastest. It's a very hilly course. But I was
Mhm.
doing strength training. Like I was doing like 3 hours of strength training a week.
Wow, good for
So
you.
I was like, the power I had in my legs. Yeah. I wasn't super um, like lean. Like I did not look. I think I look leaner now than I did back then. But I was
Mhm.
doing a lot more strength training. I felt super like I remember going up the hills and stuff. I mean, it's
Makes such a huge difference. And it's funny because I tried to convince myself I'm that's not true. I I thought maybe it wouldn't make as much of a difference. But I think the 307 that I ran last week um, wasn't. I'm not going to blame that all on the heat. Like I think the lack of muscle strength, the lack of pop, is a result of not having strength trained regularly. Um, it's funny because I've kept up all my core stuff, like my daily core routine. I really never miss that, but um, there have been times where I've been tempted to like cut back on the numbers on the different exercises in my core routine, just because it's like, holy cow, this is starting to push to half an hour a day of my life. Maybe I can cut this back. And the only reason I haven't is because I've thought about the difference in my performances just in having not been regular with the strength training. And I'm like, no, I'm just gonna puppy.
I missed you.
I'm gonna at least keep my core routine solid and not mess with it at all. Because once I start to let that slip, then I've got nothing left. It's like,
Yeah, that's one thing that I used to have like very tight hips running, and I don't feel that way anymore. And it's all the core, all the
cool.
because it makes I do a lot of like what you might call it, these ones that you put your leg up.
Just leg lifts.
Yeah, but you put your arm down and the opposite leg down, and then you change
Oh,
them. What are they called? Um, oh, they have a name. Man, I do a lot of those. I do a lot of so I do leg lifts, and that's because the hip flexors used to when I started running, they used to bother me so much. Like I'm talking limping sometimes from like especially the right one. I don't know why,
that's interesting.
but that has never happened. Since I started doing like core consistently, it doesn't happen anymore.
Hey, Sherry.
Hi,
Hey,
Hi,
Sylvain.
Sherry. We have from Canada because Sylvain is in Canada too. I think,
Oh,
right?
wow,
I'm
that's
not
so
saying
super
this.
cool. Is Sylvain, are you
I
from
think he's from
Quebec
Quebec,
as well?
from
I,
French Canada. Yeah,
oh, that's awesome. Yeah, I spent 19 years living in Toronto, so I'm
I
familiar.
love Toronto. That's one, like I was telling this coworker when he's around too. I said, I would love to run the Toronto Marathon. I love that city
Yeah,
so
the
much.
Waterfront Marathon, because they've got two. They've got like one in May and one in October every year. And the Waterfront Marathon is the flat one. And then the other one, you go up onto the expressway, which is like an elevated expressway. And I don't want anything to do with that.
Now the waterfront one, I've seen videos and it's you're running. I mean, I think Toronto is very. I mean, I'm sure it's freaking cold in the wintertime, but
Oh,
it's
it's
such a
terrible.
livable city. I mean, in the summertime, it's like gorgeous, like
Yeah,
it's
no, it's
perfect
a pretty
weather.
city. It's a pretty city. I still got a lot of friends up there, so I'm hoping maybe I can get up there. Oh, Sylvain, when you say Quebec, do you mean Quebec City? What I liked Montreal, but in all truth, Quebec City is unbelievably gorgeous. Just I went there as a teenager was the last time,
I've
and
never been there. Oh my God, I have oh, crap. I'm gonna kill a spider. He was like moving. He just killed it. He was coming from like came from my ring light.
yeah, a little too close for comfort.
Oh my God, he was big. The spiders in this neighborhood, I don't understand how they can get that big. Okay, we have a lot of questions and we haven't, I think we've done like three or four. So I'm going to pick a couple of random ones because we're close to
All right,
the
whatever.
hour. Um, what's the most memorable moment from the race? I
Oh,
have
wow.
mine.
I think I've already answered it. Peeing into the ocean.
Oh, really? So my most memorable moment is when we are walking by the start line and you're there like up front, and
Yeah.
then it's like, look at Paul, he's in the first. And we're like, Paul, because we were screaming at the top of our lungs, Paul, Paul, and
Yeah,
you weren't looking.
I
And the
remember when
guy
I
next
first
to you,
came
we
out of
were
my
like,
maze, I was like, "Hey, I know you."
the guy next to you, he's looking at us like, because for a moment he's looking, he had the headphones and he takes them off and looks at us, and then he's like, and then we are like, go ahead, go ahead, go ahead, like the guy next to you.
That's funny.
Yeah, yeah. So it's in the video. It's funny because it's like, oh, it's like you have your own fan club. Everybody's there.
No, I appreciated that. That took it released a lot of the tension, that you feel when you're waiting for our race to start. So that
And
was
the
pretty
funny thing is like, where are you guys gonna be? And we're like, oh, we're gonna be all the way at the end.
cool.
We're going to the end.
Yeah, Iappa wasn't very far behind me when you were talking to me. He was like a couple rows back at the most.
Yeah, I was surprised he wasn't next to you. Yes.
Yeah, I was trying to get him up there, but I don't know. I guess he felt a little intimidated to get right in front.
Another question. I really wanted to hit this one. So,
Sure.
what did you do to recover after the race? Like, what are your? Are you
Um,
treating this differently from other races, or are you doing exactly the same thing?
no, this whole thing was really relaxed for me. So like I I have no pearls of wisdom for people using this race as an example. Um, because I was literally like, I got back to the hotel, I took my shower. One thing probably that I can pass on to people that is I do after my long runs, I do it after marathons, half marathons. I even do it after my long runs, not at the end even, but even sometimes in the middle of a long run or a long race, I'll sacrifice time to, like, if I'm starting to feel really like, if your hip flexors are really, really barking at you and things are really bad, um, your knees or any of your joints, your ankles, if you just sacrifice some time, and I always do it at like a water station if I have to. It's just a convenient place where people are looking out for you and you're not going to get run over. Um, just hang on to something and squat down, do like a deep knee bend squat and just hold it for like 15 seconds. I promise you, when you get back up and you start running, it will feel effortless all over again. Um,
Oh wow, I've seen people do it many times in races, and I always think like if I had to do that right now, I would just not because I don't think I have ever had to like stretch or like, well, not me. I mean, I ran that April Fool's, remember, where I was like cramping.
Hmm.
I stretched a little bit, but you have to because you're cramping. I was cramping so bad, like on,
Yeah, you
you know,
have to.
sole of my feet. I didn't have any other option. But like stretching because in the middle of a race something feels tight or something, I've never, like, I've always been able to keep going.
Yeah,
I've
yeah.
never been
This
like, I've
time,
seen people like their abductors are like, and they have to like stretch or something. I've never had to do anything like that.
yeah, that's the
Lucky
only
me.
move I ever do. I don't do any
Knock on wood.
complicated stretches or anything like that. But it was so hot during this race that I actually, even though I was running with my hydration pack, um, I ran out of water at mile 22. I went to
Oh
grab a
wow.
sip and it was like, nothing's left, nothing's left. So I actually like jumped up and down to try to, if there was anything just to free it up, nothing. So yeah,
Oh
that's
wow.
that's that's why I started dragging so badly in those last few miles, is because it was like I was just so parched, and I could feel my hamstrings starting to give me those first twitchy warnings of I'm going to lock up on you because of the heat and the lack of hydration. And so I was like
Wow.
very carefully riding that line of I'll go as fast as I can without taking the chance on a massive Charlie horse. So,
Yeah, I grabbed water in every single station except for one. I grabbed Gatorade by mistake.
hmm.
Just not, they were not really following. That's, I noticed, like some like I, after I grabbed the Gatorade in one of the water stations, I kept asking, water, water, is this water? Because they were not keeping the cups. Like I grabbed Gatorade and it was on a water cup. And then another time I grabbed
Oh, no.
water and it was in a Gatorade cup. So I kept asking, like, is this water? Is this water? Because I
Yeah,
mean, once you
I
grab
wasn't
something
surprised.
and you
I'm
have it in your
expecting
hand,
one
you
or the
drink
other.
it. I mean, but I wasn't planning on having Gatorade because I don't like how Gatorade. I don't like the taste of Gatorade or the. Oh, I just don't.
Yeah,
So
to me, it's exactly the same thing as goose. It's like you get this super shot of energy that lasts for a couple of minutes and then you crash. I just can't stand
I
it.
think they water it down though. I can't imagine that race is just. I think they put water on it
Yeah.
because it doesn't. It's not that super concentrated. But still, I just don't like the flavor of it. To me, it tastes like the freezing thing, the antifreeze that you put in the car. To me, it's just that, like, I don't know, I don't like the taste. It's like it hits me in the wrong spot. Like I just don't like it. So
Yeah, I'll use it like on speed days, just like for exactly that, for just a quick shot of energy. But that's it. I can't stand it for like the length of the long run. It just doesn't work for me.
it the flavor doesn't have any. I don't know. It just doesn't have any. It has an aftertaste. I don't know. It has something. I am weird with this stuff though because let me tell you. So when I go to Spain, Madrid has really nice tap water.
Okay.
Like everybody, when you go to Spain, that's the first thing people say. Like, oh wow, the tap water here is really good. It just tastes so good.
Okay.
When I go, I drink so much water because it's like you drink it and it's like, oh my god, this water tastes so nice. So
You
I'm
have
weird.
to
Like
enjoy
if I
it.
go somewhere and I don't like how the water tastes, it's like I can't drink this. It doesn't. Yeah, I'm weird with that kind of. Maybe it probably shouldn't be, but it just
Yeah,
gives
no,
me
I mean what you just said about their water is kind of reminds me of New York City. They've got good water, which is so
we got
strange.
good water in New York City, yes. And you grab it and it's like, oh my god, this water, yeah,
Yeah, it's
makes
weird.
you wonder, yeah, what they do, what they do to the water, because it's obviously filtrated, and so they probably put
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, it all
some
gets
extra.
shipped down from the on the aqueduct from the Croton Dam. The
Oh,
only
so
reason I
that
know
is
that
why.
the only reason I know that is because I used to live there as a kid. I used
So
to live like
it's mountain
3 miles.
water, so that's why it's so good. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's the same in Madrid. Is mountain water. It comes from it's from the mountains. They bring it from the
Okay.
mountains.
Well, there's the
So
answer.
it's really good water. Yeah. Um, So now we're gonna wrap this up with what's next. What next goals you have? Races, like in your near future or far future. Like talk
Yeah,
about
I
it.
think I haven't put the money down yet, but I think the Myrtle Beach Marathon in March. It's like the first couple of days of March. I think it's March 2nd, something like that, second or third. I think that's where I'm going to end up. But what I'd like to do in the meanwhile is I would like to, somewhere around Christmas, maybe early January, somewhere in there, I'd like to either run a half marathon or like a time trial on the track or something, just to kind of, after seeing that 307 last week, it kind of motivated me to get to work a little harder on the top end speed. So I think that may be the way to go. And then, so like spend 9 weeks basically, just kind of try to build my speed, try to really, really lean down. And then spend the 9 weeks between there and Myrtle, just kind of doing sustained, super long runs and see where that gets me.
Yeah. So for me, I am actually excited to start like doing more like heel training and stuff like that. Like
Cool. That'll
I
build
have
strength
plans of
really quickly.
getting on the treadmill and doing because when the winter comes, when they change the time, when we do the daylight savings, I'm gonna end up. So because I was thinking again, talking to this coworker of mine who's also running, he was like, "So when was the best time, the strongest you've ever felt?"
Mm-hmm.
And what were you doing? Like, do you remember what you were doing for training? I was like, well, when I was feeling really, really strong, it's interesting. I told him I was doing running a lot on the treadmill. And he was like, and why do you think that is? And I'm like, I think it's because on the treadmill, you lock a pace and you force yourself to, you know,
Yep.
if you're 1 hour in the treadmill, you're forcing your body to keep that pace.
Yep.
And when I'm running outside, if you're running for 2 hours, you're not concentrated all those 2 hours. I mean, let's face it. Maybe other people aren't. I'm not. I'm thinking about other things and
Yeah.
like grocery things and like I
Yeah.
need to do this at home or my son. I need to do this. So work stuff, which is also good. That's one of the reasons why I like running is because you have headspace. You're not on your
Exactly.
phone or watching something or reading something. You just in your mind, and
Yep.
that's relaxing to you. It's therapeutic. You have headspace for a lot of stuff. So, but it's hard for me to keep that pace consistently. But on the treadmill, this is what I was telling my coworker. It's like I'm on the treadmill, I'm an hour, and it's like that hour, it's the same pace.
Yep.
Unless
Forces you
I'm
to go.
really like sucking wind and I can't keep the pace. But usually you log in a pace, it's like I usually, like a 5.2, 5.3, and I can do that on the treadmill all day long.
Yep.
Um, so I told him I was doing a lot of like 5.2, 5.4 treadmill runs, like 1 hour here and there, like just consistently. So I was able to, that pace was like so familiar to me. And the treadmill taught me to just keep that pace
Yep.
consistently.
No, the treadmill
So
is great
that's when
if you
I
can
PR'd at the April
monotony.
Fools. I PR'd there and I PR'd without even like really, I hadn't, like I was training for, um, what's the other race? The Brooklyn Half, which is in May. So it was
Mhm.
like 8 weeks later. I wasn't really in peak of training or anything. And then I went there and I just PR'd. And it's because I was running, coming from like February and March, I was running a lot on the treadmill. I was like constantly, like even
Yeah.
long runs. I was like, okay,
You
2 hours
also,
on the treadmill, 5.2, 5.4, depending on how it felt that day. And it was just like grinding, grinding, grinding at that pace.
the other thing to
So
keep in mind for the treadmill though, like if you can stand the monotony of being on the treadmill for that long, like you said, the great thing is, of course, consistent pacing. You're training everything in your body, the neuromuscular pathways, the muscles themselves. You're training them to be able to handle that speed, and you don't have to question it. You don't have to worry about it. The other thing is the landing on the treadmill is much softer than being out there pounding pavement, so you're going to
right.
recover faster. So I mean, it's the only thing about the treadmill that just stinks is the is the monotony. If you can find a good way to keep yourself entertained while you're on there, then it's a great tool.
I used to be able to concentrate really well on the treadmill. Um, I like running outside a lot more, but I think there's a lot of value in just using the treadmill to help you just maintain the pace. Again, because you know that you're doing that pace. Even if your Garmin or your watch or something, it's not telling you it's not. It's because the treadmill is keeping the pace consistent. So even if you're fluctuating, it's not true. It's you're and it helps you just grind. I think that grinding I
No,
think
you're
is
you're
so
preaching
helpful.
to the choir right now. I mean, I've done entire training blocks, literally entire 18-week training blocks for a marathon, where every single run was on a treadmill. So I know exactly what you're talking about.
I have a to Dr. Mommy budget. She's saying sometimes it's very
Yes,
important because
exactly.
yeah, yeah.
Exactly.
I have a friend. She's in Norway. I haven't talked to her in a long time, but we used to run on the treadmill together because we used to run on Zwift and we used to meet and run on
Gotcha.
Zwift. Um, she continued running on Zwift because she's in Norway and she's a nurse and she has shifts.
Hmm.
Many times when she has to run, she has to run on the treadmill because it's dark outside. It's very cold in Norway, because she
Oh
doesn't
yeah.
live like in a city. She lives like in rural, like they're in
Yeah.
like a rural
I've got a,
hospital.
I've got a friend who lives in northern Norway on one of the islands off the coast, and it's cold and it's
Yeah,
dark.
she said if I don't run on the treadmill, I'm not running. So, and sometimes she has to run at 3 a.m. Like before she goes to work or whatever. So she does a lot of running on the treadmill, and she is a beast. I mean, she just ran. Which one did she run? I think she ran. Oh, she did Chicago in three. She's a few years younger than me. She's like 4 or 5 years younger. But I think she did 3:12 in Chicago. I mean, she's
Rock.
a beast, and she runs everything on the treadmill.
Good for her.
Very rarely she runs outside. Very very rarely because she
Yeah.
can't.
Yeah. There are a lot, especially a lot of beginner runners. They worry about the treadmill. They think it's not as good a quality of training, but you know, bullshit to put it. You know.
So yeah, I'm going to incorporate more training on the treadmill, more runs on the treadmill, and I'm going to do hill training, and I'm excited about that. Actually, just changing things a little bit, and just and I'm going to try and do well. Of good intentions, the world is. How is that saying? The world is full of good intentions.
Oh, yeah. Or the road to hell is paved with good intentions.
Right, that's right. Yeah. Um, I I really want to find what works for me. So we'll see. But hopefully
Yeah.
that
Mix it up. Do what you
happens.
have to do. I mean,
Yeah. I'm thinking about signing for, so there's the Loopy Looper that I did. I don't know. I had a video on my channel that had thousands of views within like 2 or 3 days. And there seems to be a market for that. It's an endurance. You do 12-hour loops around this lake.
oh, okay. Gotcha.
But I didn't do 12 hours. I think I did 6 hours.
Okay.
And every time you cross the start, you cross the finish, and then they time you, and then you start again. So I think I ended up doing like 22 miles or something. But
Hmm.
I'm thinking about signing for. They have one that's called the Frosty Looper because it's in
Okay.
December. So I was thinking about signing for that one because that's an excuse to just put miles.
Yep. Yeah, and
And I
it's
have
great
friends who are
practice
running
for
it. So
the ultra you're doing in Spain. So that's great.
yeah, so that would be like right before, and that would be nice too. Yeah. So I'm thinking about it. I don't know. I don't have anything right now.
I was really
But
tempted. I was talking to Ayapa before this Atlantic City race, and he was like, "Well, what are you going to do after this?" And I told him what I just told you about, Myrtle and all that. But my heart, I want to run a 100 miler. I really, really want to. Like, I want to go back
oh,
to
you would do
ultras.
fantastic. I
Yeah,
think you would do fantastic, Paul.
I just love that 50-mile experience. Was just so not like road racing. I just loved it.
Bye, Sylvain.
Seriously.
Thank you for coming. Yeah, I think it also it's that's all about endurance, just like trying to get. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a completely different mindset. You're not worried about speed. You're worried about setting yourself up to make it another few miles. you know?
So you should try the Mountain Coast. I'm telling you, those shoes are fantastic for. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that could be really cool. Um, yeah, I mean, yeah, beyond that, I'm thinking I may end up in Berlin at some point. I think it's too late already to sign up for 2025, but
It's a lottery. You have to sign up for the lottery. Um, that's another good race. It's super flat, usually good weather.
yeah,
Berlin has very, you know, see, that's the thing that I miss from being in Europe. Like cities have, there's never a hurricane
well,
there's
exactly.
no
Yeah,
like
very
there's
consistent
never
weather from year to year.
tornadoes. It's like there's no, I mean, it could rain, but there's no extreme. Unless,
Yeah,
I mean, you could get like snowed in Berlin, but like extreme events, random out of season, it's not just not a thing that happens.
yeah, yeah.
Whereas here,
That's
you could
very,
go, yeah, you could run whatever. You could go to Disney and run in January, and you could get, something hitting. Yeah.
Oh, I know. It's just ridiculous here. It's like it just seems like I've been on this tear for like 3 years where I just cannot find a cool day to race on. Well,
Look
after.
at Carol. Carol is just such a troublemaker. Such a troublemaker.
Let's plan a 100-mile race. Hey, I'm game.
Oh man, yeah. Well, I don't need a lot to have my arm twisted. Yeah. Well, this one step at a time,
Exactly, exactly.
Not
First,
gonna
we get
end.
through this. Exactly. Yeah. If you guys decide, if you find a 100-miler that you guys think is cool, then yeah, I'll tag along.
Oh, Carol will find one.
Okay.
Carol, right now, she can find one in the next 10 minutes and send you links to 3 or 4.
All right. It'll give me an excuse to do some traveling. I like it.
She would. I'm sure she has a couple in mind. Yeah, she's great for this stuff, and she follows like all of them. So
Cool. Cool.
I just don't know. There's got to be something that's not extremely because if you want to do your first, I mean, that's a long distance. You want to do something that's
I want something flat. Last time I did that
right.
50 mile where it was like mountains. It was, oof.
I mean, they're beautiful, but I think 100 miles is a long distance if you on top of that put.
Yeah, I just
See,
want, yeah.
to me, what I would be scared of is the 2 nights in a row. Because a 50-mile with elevation is you're doing one night. Like there's, like you
Hmm.
could be 16 hours out there. You're eating time into your, like going to bed. Like um. But if you're doing 100 miler, you're like 2 nights. It's yeah.
Yeah, like 24
That
hours of
would
work.
scare
Yeah.
me because I don't function well if I don't sleep. Like I legit don't function well. Like I need to sleep. Like
Yeah.
we all do. But to me, I get in a bad mood.
Yeah.
Like really bad. I mean, I'm a horrible person if I don't sleep.
Yeah, I think 100 miles. I don't think anybody's. I think when you finish, you can get back in a good mood. But I think that I would imagine that last 25 miles is just the worst thing in the world. You're just trying to prove
So
something to yourself. Go ahead.
Jerry's saying I use the treadmill a lot in the winter. If you think the quality of your workout isn't the same as running outside, raise the incline to 2%. I didn't even have to like when I used to run a lot on the treadmill. I kept it flat.
Yeah, Sherry, I got good news for you. There were tests that this is news from I guess 6 or 7 years ago at this point. That whole sort of commonly known myth about the 2% to make up for the lack of work on the treadmill is complete baloney. The performance differences that they saw in runners when they tested this long term were you can keep it flat. What is what it comes down to. You don't have to put the incline on the treadmill. It's just as good
I've
a
read
work.
that too. Even on like on Peloton, when you're running on Peloton,
Mhm.
they already say that like you don't need to keep the like they used to say put it on 1%. Swift
Yeah,
used to say the same thing. Like when you started the workout, it would say put the incline on 1% to mimic like there would be like a blur there. You didn't have to do it, but it would tell you. It doesn't
mhm.
say that anymore.
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah. The proof is pretty much back that you don't have to do that. So don't feel like you're cheating yourself if you're doing a lot of running on the treadmill. You'll be just
and
fine.
I actually did a video. This was a long time ago. At the beginning of my channel where I actually gathered scientific studies and it was like what's harder running on the treadmill and running outside and
Mhm.
they actually like people who ran outside and then like there was a performance improvement in people who actually did training on the treadmill.
Yeah, I can believe it.
Like it was like not even doing like speed training on the no, people who did some of their workouts on the treadmill, some of the runs actually ran faster than people who didn't. So I
Yeah,
mean, it's hard to measure that because you have to clone people, like it's like they would have to clone me and put me through the same training block at the same time once. So scientific studies they can't be super controlled. That's the problem with scientific studies.
yeah, and one thing I do, I guess, as sort of an addendum to the whole thing about just running on the treadmill. The only time that can become not as good is like you were just saying, like you were just alluding to, Susie, on speed days, explosive speed days. I'm not talking about sort of up tempo days. Treadmill is just fine for that stuff. But like where anytime you need sudden bursts of speed, I would recommend, if it's not terrible weather outside, go and do that workout outside, because the time it takes the treadmill to ramp up, even if you're trying to ramp up to a super high speed, for doing like the equivalent of 400s, 800s, and that kind of stuff, it doesn't, most of the time it can't keep up with the rate at which you would accelerate when you're outside. So
Right.
that can kind of cheat you a little bit, because that first, the initial explosion of speed that you get during a track workout, you can't recreate that on treadmill as well. And a lot of your muscle building comes from that initial burst of speed. So if you can get outside, do your speed work outside.
And I think the treadmill is wonderful for. So I did an interview with Stephen. Oh, I'm trying to blank on Stephen Cousins. Yes, he has a channel called Film My Run,
Mm-hmm.
and he does a lot of ultra trail races and marathons as well. Like he's a beast. He and his wife, they both run, and they're fantastic runners. So I had him on the podcast when I was doing the podcast, and he lives in the UK in a very flat area, very
Mm-hmm.
very flat. And he's done UTMB and all these big races. He's done just Gran Canaria, the long one, the classic, like the one that's 120. So I
Yep.
asked him, I said, so how do you train for this elevation? He was like, I just do all of it on the treadmill. He's like,
Yeah.
I just do 3 miles with 10% incline, like
That's awesome.
consistently, week after week after week after week, and as fast as I can. And yeah, so he
Yeah.
said, I do
There's no
all my
difference.
hill training on the treadmill.
Yeah. Your legs don't know the difference. They just know they're working.
Right.
That's awesome.
Okay. Okay. So we've been here 1 hour and 17 minutes.
Wow.
It's a pleasure, as always. Thanks for
Yes. Thank
everybody
you for
for
having
joining.
me. And I always enjoy talking to you, whether we're filming it or just talking. But yeah. Thank
We
you for
should
having
we
me.
should make this like a recurring thing. We
Yeah.
should.
I'll finally get off my duff one day and actually set one up on my channel. So instead of always asking you to set things up.
It doesn't take that long. I can continue doing it, but no, it would be nice. Yeah, one time you
Yeah.
come to my house, then another time I go to
Exactly.
yours.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah. So
Cool.
next time it's on you. But yeah, I'm available. This I love
All right.
chatting about running. So
Yeah, I'll figure out. I'll tell you what. Um, get recovered. Figure out what your interim training is going to look like, and we'll talk in a little while, and we'll share all that with everybody.
we used to do runs on the treadmill. Remember, you and I used to run on the treadmill
Yeah,
together. You would
that's
be, I
cool.
would be like a 5.2, and you would be like, I'm increasing the speed to 10.
Yeah, as long as I can still talk, then I'm all right.
Okay, I'm gonna increase the speed.
Cool.
It was very motivating though. It's like, okay, he's
Yeah,
going
yeah.
double the speed that I'm going.
Yeah, I don't know if I can do that anymore. I'm trying to hang on. I'm doing
Oh
my
man.
best. Cool. So,
Okay, so we're gonna just
yeah.
put this one last comment and then we'll
Okay.
call it. We'll say goodbye. Well, that's good to know. I've always been running on incline. I really do speed work because of the time it takes to ramp up. Oh, thank you so much for this input. Greatly appreciate it. We appreciate you, Sherry. We'll
Yeah,
do
sure.
more of this.
Keep in mind, if you want to put it on 1 or 2%, it's not like you're doing yourself any harm. I mean, you'll only get stronger that much faster, but you don't have to, I guess is my point.
Right, right. You don't. It's not necessary to mimic the conditions outside.
Well said.
Oh, I used to put just do the on my phone during treadmill long runs and listen in my earbuds. It's true. I used to do this a lot. Remember, like in the middle of I
Oh,
used to
yeah.
do like 14 miles on the treadmill. Maybe I should do that again.
Yeah, it helps
Or
if
just
you're stuck inside in the winter and you have to be on the treadmill. It's a great way to pass the time.
now with like Netflix and all this, you can just like I'm gonna tap on like I was watching before the Lincoln Lawyer. My husband doesn't want to watch the Lincoln Lawyer on
Yeah,
Netflix,
yeah.
but I really like that show. It's like, okay,
There you go.
I can actually run on the treadmill and do it. Yeah.
That's cool.
Catch up on your favorite shows. Okay, so where can people find you, Paul? Remind
Oh,
us.
yeah, I'm the Devrunner channel on YouTube, and I am the Devrunner on Instagram, and that's really it. I'm easy to
So
find.
go subscribe. No, this way. Go subscribe to his
Thank
channel.
you.
I
Thank you.
have to remember it the other way.
And I will be editing my footage from Atlantic City
Oh,
probably in
you
the next
should. I
couple
was
of days.
wondering about that because I know you took quite a bit of footage. So
Yeah, so yeah, I'll eventually have some new content for everybody.
very good. We're eager to see it.
Cool. Thank you.
Okay, and you guys know where you can. This is my channel, so I run things, and if you go on Instagram, it's official I run things. Official with two F's.
Cool.
It was a pleasure,
Cool.
Paul.
Thank you for having me. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, me too. I'll see you very soon.
Cool.
Bye, everybody.
See you later.